Hello and welcome to the Jonas.net. My name is Donald Jonas, and today I want to do a couple of tutorial videos on Zentyal. Zentyal is the Linux version of the small business server. This is what I'm using is prepackaged by Zentyal. It's Ubuntu 10.4 LTS, and it is the 64-bit edition. So basically on this installation, we're going to do it in VirtualBox and just put the CD in and set up my basic parameters, and let's begin the installation. I'm going to choose English, and there's two options here. The first one is more of an automated installation process. That's the install Zentyal 2.2-1, and there's more of an expert mode where you can actually set the sizes of your partitions, your swap area. I would just go with the more of an automated installation, just for the time factor in doing this tutorial video. Once you choose the installation process here, it's really not much to do other than enter a little bit of information. I'll just run through a couple quick steps here, and then we'll proceed to the actual configuration of the Zentyal OS. We'll choose English, United States. Very, very, very straightforward. Not much to do here. I thought I would just cover just the initial, configuration of it. Pretty much once you put in the username, and the username, when we get to that point, has to be unique. That username, if you are setting this up for a domain for a friend or a business, or you have your own office, that username you set up for the administrative console, which will be coming up here in a moment, you kind of want to keep that unique. Because if somebody on your Samba domain that you eventually, hopefully will create, has that same name, well, obviously, when you create a user, it creates a home folder, and you're going to have a conflict there. So you want to keep that name somewhat unique. And it's loading additional components. Zentyal is really an all-in-one, one-stop operating system. They put this together very well. DNS, DHCP, excuse me. A domain controller for Windows. You can set up different Linux distributions to authenticate against it using LDAP. Print server. A wonderful groupware, Zafra. It's pronounced, I believe, I'm pronouncing it phonetically, and this is to me as good as any of them. Zembra, Exchange, but we'll get into that during the configuration. Give this a host name. Let's call it VM Server 1. Keep it simple. And it's just running through the different configurations. Your time zone, it's close enough. I think once we get into the actual partitioning, I will pause the video and let it run until it actually comes to the initial screen. I believe the only thing really left to do is to create a user, and that comes more towards the end, and I kind of went through that a few minutes ago. So I'm going to stop the video here, and when we get to the point where the desktop is up and we can sign into the administrative console, I will continue. So I will be right back. You know what, the option for the username came up pretty quick, so I will go through that. And I'll just call this user D user. I don't believe I'm going to have anybody with that name on my domain. And the account, that's fine. And the password. I would recommend on this password, and with all passwords of course, especially this one, because it is a little bit cumbersome to change that administrative password. So you definitely want to put some complexity there. You don't want to keep it too simple. And this is just going to continue on now for a few more minutes to run the configuration of the initial installation of Zentyal. And like I mentioned a minute ago, I will pick up this video when it comes to the end of it and we're at the desktop. I believe at the end the CD will eject. You just hit enter, it'll reboot, and go and auto log in right initially to the administrative screen, and that's where we'll pick it up. And I will be right back. Welcome back. Now we've gone through the initial installation using a CD and ran through all the wizards and prompts in order to get to this point. When that first portion finished, it should have ejected the CD and you should have rebooted it, and you're presented with an administrative sign-on screen. Before we proceed, I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to bring up the user console, and I'm going to set an administrative password. That's a very simple process. That would just be sudo passwd root, and then type in the sudo password, which would have been the original password and user account that we set up in the very beginning, which in my case was duser. And now we're going to set up the administrative password. And it says here updated successfully. Excellent. So now we have a root user. So getting back to the administrative console, let's log in. That was duser and my password. And right off the bat, you're presented with many options. We're going to choose communications, office, infrastructure. You can add a few others. Backup's always a good choice. Webmail service we will need. You'll definitely need the groupware. User corner. If we get to bandwidth monitor, I'll still check it. And migration tool. Might not be able to get to all these options, but we'll get them put in just in case we do have time. And there's other options like VPN, point-to-point tunneling protocol, and there is a proxy server here. So let's go ahead and click install. And it should take us to another screen here just to verify, and OK. This is going to take a few minutes. It's going to have to download the packages and then install them. So this could take 10 minutes or so. So I will pause the video and pick up when it's just about finished. We're moving right along. The installation is almost complete. Going to pause the video just for a few more minutes until it finishes up. Okay, we're finishing up here. The next portion, I believe, of the setup will be the configuration of the network interfaces. That should be coming up any moment here. Just a little bit more it has to progress through. Looks like the last part here is setting up the printers. I have two network interface cards set up on this virtualization. One is going to have like a public interface facing the router, and the other network card will be for the more of the internal interface, supplying the DNS and DHCP for the network. And we should just about be ready here. And as it progresses, it shows you all the features it has. It's pretty cool. I really like this Zentyal small business server version from Linux. And using Ubuntu just has such a variety of installation packages and such support. It's such a good operating system. Okay, here we are. The ETH0, ETH1. I'm going to use the 0 as my outside interface, and the ETH1 is the internal. And next, we'll set up a couple of static IPs here. First one. This can be whatever you have internally on your domain. Now the 10.0.0.70, this is going to be pointing to my router. My router will be port forwarding all the traffic that is needed for the server. You know, the SMTP, port 425, port 465, 993, all the different ports that are needed that come in through my router, through my static IP in my router provided by my ISP, will be pointing to .70. Now the internal, I keep a little bit different, a little different subnet. Having a degree of separation is always good. And off of this network interface is where I'm going to receive my DHCP and my local DNS information. So that's pretty straightforward. Under the name server, you can always put the IP address of your router. That'll work just fine. Or if you know the public IP address of your ISP's DNS servers, you can always use that too. And then next, I'm going to choose under the LDAP option the advanced configuration under the master slave AD sync. And set up your first email virtual domain. I'll just call this my test.local. I'll make it routable on the internet. This is only for this demonstration. If you have a domain name registered, you want to put that in. Like in my case, if I was setting up a server, I would put in thejonas.net or what have you. Next, here are some offers from Zentyal if you want to use some of their paid services. I'm going to skip through that and save changes. This will take a minute to save, and this is pretty much wrapping up the end of this first tutorial video. The next video will be going into actually configuring the modular aspect of Zentyal. So thank you for watching my tutorial video. I hope it was helpful, and please watch my next videos, and I will go through more detail on configuring the different aspects of Zentyal. Thank you and have a nice day.